Virginia trying to remain undefeated this season, hoping to improve to 7-0-1, and certainly a chance if the Cavaliers take care of business today. They might find themselves with the #1 ranking come Tuesday. Off we go from Klockner Stadium. Here's one of the veterans for VCU and Stella Castro, playing it back to Mia Pongratz, the starting goalkeeper for the Rams this season. Pongratz a reserve over her first couple of years and now getting the starting nod here in 2025. A handful of changes to notify you about on the Virginia side. Steve Swanson trying to get some rest in for some of his key players. So Linda Mittemeyer, who is on the ball right now, 11 in the orange, makes her first start of the season in place of Jill Flammia. Jill went down with a bit of a knock late in the match against Duke on Thursday, but is okay and ready to participate today. Addison Halpern is out of the starting 11 for UVA. Allie Ross returns. She has started multiple games this season for the Hoos. Maya Carter in as a center back in place of Kiki Mackey. And a change in goal for the Hoos. Ellie Summers replaces Vicky Saffredin today. Saffredin is available. Player goes down in the box for VCU and a free kick for the Rams. Castro in the back with Ava Pustover. VCU in possession in a 4-3-3, out of possession defending in a 4-2-4. Cavaliers, meanwhile, in their familiar 4-3-3. That might change as time goes on, as they make substitutions. Sometimes they play with a double 9, maybe looks like a 3-5-2 with the left back, Liv Rademacher, pushing forward. Pustover uses the outside of the boot and delivers it to Ishpreen Marwa, the junior defender from Tampa. They got her via the portal. Southern Miss transfer. One of a few players that Coach Hutchinson brought in herself. VCU hired Hutchinson back in February of 2025, so a little bit later than most coaches are hired. But she is relishing this opportunity to be a collegiate head coach. It really never was a dream of Lauren to become a collegiate head coach, but she has so much pride in the Rams. She played with VCU from 2009 to 2012 and has just absolutely fallen in love with the opportunity. Maggie Cagle goes direct, bypasses McDermott. On the end of it here, Ross, but she couldn't get it on target. And waiting for it, Pongratz. Junior goalkeeper from Massachusetts. Made her collegiate debut against Virginia a couple of years ago. Played the full second half here at Klockner Stadium. Did not face a shot. Lainey Rouse, the 6th-year defender, so clever on the interception. Feeds it over to Cagle, who tries to worm her way free and is twisted down by Vivian Vent, the top goal scorer for VCU, 22 in the gray. Couple of goals this season. Maya Carter making her first collegiate start this evening, 26 in the orange, one of the center backs for UVA. Her 69th appearance as a Who, first in the starting 11. Virginia inside the box. Cagle puts it down on the ground. Mittemeyer lets it go for Ella Carter. Left-footed attempt from way outside and a lunging stop from Pongratz. Now Carter scored in the 11th minute against Duke back on Thursday night on a similar looking shot with the left foot from outside the 18. This time Pongratz had the answer. It was one of the most beautiful goals of 2025 you'll see so far from Carter a few nights ago. And now Ella takes the set piece. Half of Virginia's goals this season off of set pieces. Cavaliers elect to go short, bring it all the way back to Mittemeyer, who serves it in. Now Rademacher with time and space. Everybody pushed back for VCU at the moment. Here's Tatum Galvin. Tries to swing her way around Vent. Couldn't do so. Who's retained? Here's Galvin. One of the outside backs pushed forward. Galvin maneuvers her way towards the 18 and banks it off the body of Jordan Hall, one of the captains for VCU, the right back. And the second set piece here for the Hoos. Leah Godfrey and Linda Mittemeyer on the far side flag for the Hoos, with only one VCU defender close in Yvonne Nguyen, member of their leadership council. So Mittemeyer elects to go short. Godfrey back to Ella Carter. looks up, elevates it inside the 6. A punch here from Pongratz. On the volley, Rouse couldn't direct it towards Cage. Now Maya Carter locates Galvin, who has been all over the field early on in this match, just 5 minutes in. Tries to veer around Kendall Sarver. Out of play, VCU throw. Kendall Sarver, a great story coming into this match. Sarver has scored 14 goals in her collegiate career, senior from Maryland. Her season last year ended against the Cavaliers on September the 5th in Richmond, a season-ending ACL injury. Sarver has played in all 7 matches coming into tonight here in 2025 and is 4 goals shy of becoming a top 10 member in VCU history in goals. Nice slide tackle there from the 4'11" Ishpreen Marwa. Coach Hutchinson describes her as feisty despite her diminutive stature. Castro out of play for a Virginia throw. Nicole Green, our referee this evening. Matthew Richardson, Amelia Graytock, our assistant referees. On an 86-degree night here in Charlottesville, but low humidity, so relatively comfortable. Sarver on the pirouette. Couldn't link up with her teammate Jensen Linz, the center attacking mid for Coach Hutchinson's team. Linz started her career at Washington State, couple of years there with the Cougars, then moved on to ULM last year. And a big signing in the portal for this VCU team in the offseason. Carter lost her footing momentarily. VCU ball, Yvonne Nguyen. Marwa. Pressure applied here from Cagle. Pongratz blasting it back towards midfield. Rouse gets shielded off the ball. Nice work here from Vent. Scored in the last match against ODU in the 40th minute. VCU has really challenged itself in the non-conference slate so far. Second toughest strength of schedule in the A-10, only behind George Mason. Wins for the Rams over Loyola on the road and at home against Navy. Meanwhile, Virginia has played the toughest strength of schedule in the entire country. Cavaliers starting the season as the number 15 team in the country. Moved down to number 17 after a 1-0 win in its opener against West Virginia, but has moved up ever since to 13, 8, and now number 5. And mentioning that difficult strength of schedule for the Hoos, their opponents so far this season, coming into today, have combined for a 31-8-6 record. That's a .756 win percentage by Virginia's opponents, and the Hoos have beaten all of them aside from then number 16 Georgetown. Carter steers it back to her goalkeeper Ellie Summers, making her first start as a Hoo today and her first collegiate action in 680 days. Last time she played in an official college match was with Loyola Marymount November 4th of 2023. This play offside, VCU playing a very high line as the AR Matthew Richardson makes the call. For Summers, she started her career at Pepperdine from the spring of 2021 through the fall of 2022. Made 11 starts, 17 appearances with the Waves, a 5-3-4 record with 5 shutouts. Then struggled in her time with Loyola Marymount back in 2023, a struggling Lions squad. She went 0-6-2 that year. But her career high in saves, 9 against then number 1 UCLA back in 2022 with Pepperdine. Her distribution, shot stopping, pretty superb for a number 2 goaltender. Rademacher back to Summers and her first chance under pressure. And if you're just joining us, Vicky Safferton, the normal starting goalkeeper for UVA, is available. But Coach Swanson just wants to give some of his key characters a chance for rest today. So we might see Safferton in the second half potentially, you never know. Fans a bit disgruntled here off the foul from Meredith McDermott. Coach Swanson in disbelief as well. Conversation with the 4th official downstairs. Castro. Godfrey steps in the way as Cagle lays it back to Rouse. Summers forward in a chase down now. Mittelmeyer and no win. And at last glance is off of Mittelmeyer. Graduate student from Austria, second season with UVA. Debuted in Austria's first league at 15 years old. Carter swings it back to Summers. Sixth-year grad from Boulder, Colorado. Rademacher. And now wide for Ross. Junior forward from Atlanta. Summers with Linz closing down the space. This is good work here from VCU, hemming Virginia into its own half. Well, this is a Rams squad last year under former head coach Lindsey Martin. They only scored 15 goals. They're trying to change the identity of this team this year into a more offensively minded club. In fact, 7 of those 15 goals last season from the Rams from a player named Kanamatsu Hisa. She is now gone. 3-year starter for the Rams. 2-time All-A-10 second-team selection. So Coach Hutchinson said one of the main goals this season, make sure that everybody feels involved offensively. Everyone needs to want to score goals. Godfrey has scored a handful this season, 4 of them for the Hoos. As she misplays it there for McDermott. Virginia sagging back now on the defensive side. 3 of the 4 goals for Godfrey this season offset pieces. Her first goal through the run of play on Thursday night against the Blue Devils in minute 4. It was in transition off a Meredith McDermott header against Duke's high press. Down the line for Sarver. Galvin tries to shepherd it back to her keeper, and a smart play by the redshirt junior from Miami. Just getting started here from Charlottesville. Virginia credited with a couple of shots so far as the Hoos try to go direct once again. Here's Maggie Cagle, 21 goals in her career. Scored in the match against Penn State 2 games ago. Double team arrives from VCU, and the center back Pustover helping out. Back-to-back top 10 wins for Virginia for the first time since 2019. Number 9 Penn State, number 2 Duke on the losing end against the Cavaliers. Now, we touched on it right towards the top. Virginia with the chance with 3 points today to potentially move to the number 1 team in the country. Current number 1 Tennessee lost on Friday at Mississippi State 3-2. Of course, Duke, the number 2 team in the country, falling to UVA back on Thursday. Stanford tied Clemson on Thursday 2-2 before demolishing Pitt 6-0 today. And the other team that's tied at number 3, UCLA. They beat Oregon 2-0 at home last night. But certainly an opportunity for the Hoos to leapfrog the Bruins and, again, maybe end up as the number 1 team in the land come the new rankings on Tuesday. Virginia has not been the number 1 team in the country since the final couple of weeks of the regular season back in 2021. So there's just a mojo and a spark right now for Virginia. A lot of these veterans have experienced both the highs and lows of collegiate soccer. In fact, the seniors on this team made the Elite 8 their freshman year, and they've been building up. Carter in the attack, lifting it over the paw of Pongratz and out of play. VCU throwing inside its own defensive third. So the Elite 8 in 2022. Then in 2023, the Cavaliers struggled. They had just 8 wins, their fewest wins in program history, tied for that marker. Last season, Virginia getting back to the big dance, falling in the second round in penalty kicks to Wisconsin. And there's just a feeling around this team right now. It's like a mission, right? Getting something done, getting something accomplished. Certainly Leah Godfrey would like to hold some hardware by the time her career ends, which will be at the conclusion of this season. the sixth-year grad, Godfrey, who is so lethal off set pieces. VCU setting up a three-person wall just in case Godfrey's thinking about goal from this angle. Maggie Cagle also in the area. Godfrey towards the back post, bounces down, and UVA couldn't capitalize with Carter in the vicinity, in addition to Allie Ross. With the way Leah Godfrey has been performing so far in 2025, certainly she is #1 on everyone's scouting report. Her set pieces might be the attribute of hers that is #1 on the scouting report. Free kick goals against Xavier, Liberty, and Georgetown. Rademacher turns on the speed, has an option left and deals it there. Ross picks her head up right towards the byline. Rademacher checks back. Couldn't link up there with Godfrey, but it's put out of play by VCU. That popped off the foot of Galvin. VCU springing forward, hoping for one great opportunity. Here's Sarver with Nguyen trying to make a run, but instead Maya Carter seizes possession. Here's Rouse, who scored her first goal in 3 seasons the other night against Duke. Cagle tangled up here. Marwa, again, she plays pretty tough despite her size. And now Summers. Several Rams substitutes warming up in the near side corner, getting ready to be called upon by Coach Hutchinson. Lauren also had a very successful 11-year career with the national team with Trinidad and Tobago. Steve Swanson wants a whistle here, and he eventually does get one. The crowd showering boos on the referee Nicole Green, who took an extra beat or two to look at the play and come up with a decision. Anyway, Coach Hutchinson made 37 caps with Trinidad and Tobago, scored 5 goals. And really ever since her time in college finished up, she's worked as a trainer for pro players or those who aspired to become pros. She held showcase games for men's and women's players and very successfully built a 6-figure business, has that entrepreneur spirit. Said, look, the goal was really never to be a collegiate head coach, but the athletic director for VCU, and Ed McLaughlin, reached out, said, you know, hey, I think this would be something that you might be interested in. And it took Hutchinson some time to agree. And that's why she was hired a little bit late in the process back in mid-February, 214 days ago. Ross with Godfrey making the overlapping run. Rademacher sends it to Godfrey. Plenty of space here as she battles Hall. Godfrey looping it in towards the penalty dot. Bounces free. Karam's off McDermott. Hall then banks it off the body of Godfrey. Jordan Hall, the senior from Myrtle Beach, moving from a center back spot last year to more of an outside back role this year under Coach Hutchinson. Jordan played the full 90 against Old Dominion a week ago. The Monarchs' Riley Mullen scoring a first half brace to put ODU in front 2-0 in that match before Vent brought VCU a little bit closer in the 40th minute. ODU just totally dominated the game in possession, eventually outshot VCU 19-7. Rouse, so great in tight areas as she wheels her way beyond Vent. Touched aside by Pustover. And a throw in here for Rouse and the Hoos. So Virginia not scoring in the opening minutes of this match like the Hoos did in their previous two. Maggie Cagle scored in the second minute against Penn State in that 1-0 victory over the Nittany Lions back on the 4th of September. And then Godfrey, a quick strike in minute 4 on Thursday night against the Blue Devils. Rademacher just couldn't catch up to that one, and so it's a goal kick for Pongratz, who got her first career shutout on the road against Loyola back on the 24th of August. Made 7 saves against Old Dominion, one shy of her career high of 8 against East Carolina. Off the delay, a free kick for VCU. VCU program which hasn't made the NCAA tournament since 2005 when the Rams were an at-large out of the CAA. They've been in the A-10 now for 14 straight years. Won the regular season championship in the A-10 a few years ago, back in 2021. Hard collision near the center circle as Godfrey walks away from it. Jensen Lynn's the player who crashed down to the ground. Lynn's a very integral piece for VCU this season via the portal. She's a converted winger, and she actually randomly emailed VCU in the late spring, early summer. And Coach Hutchinson watched her tape and said, yeah, let's bring her in. Steal here for the Rams, but quickly they cough it up as Vents couldn't secure the pass for Sarver. That pops over the head of Rademacher. Throw in for the Rams, who have hung in pretty tough here in the first half of this first half. VCU has yet to be credited with a shot. Who's with 3? Godfrey running over the ball and finally attaches herself to it. Here's Ross. Goals against Xavier and Liberty this season for Alley. Galvin to Rademacher. Addison Halpern waiting to check in at the next whistle. Halpern, who has started in all the games for the Hoos until tonight. Star freshman coming out of New Jersey. Carter bypasses Rouse. Instead finds a wide open Mittermeier, who continues her run. Diagonally pumps it forward. And McDermott bangs into the body of Pongratz. No whistle as we continue. The Rams and the Hoos meeting for the 5th time over the last 6 seasons as Cagle takes some punishment here. And we will have a stoppage of the clock here. Thought for a moment that Nicole Green would hand out a card, but she just wanted to make sure that Maggie was okay, and indeed she is. 67th career cap tonight for Cagle with the Hoos. Last season, a 3rd-team All-ACC selection. Led the team with 7 goals and tied for the team lead with 5 assists. A couple of goals and an assist against Duke here in 2025. Rademacher accelerates towards the byline. Rademacher right into the hands of the waiting Pongratz. With as aggressive as Rademacher is on that left channel for UVA, the true freshman from Amsterdam, at times it looks like a back 3 for the Hoos, but Virginia is certainly okay with that. Just provides a different element for Steve Swanson's team. And now Rademacher steps in, puts a foot in for the tackle. McDermott couldn't catch up to it. Pushed over, taking no chances. Corner kick number 3 for UVA.
Cavaliers corner.
Some changes for both squads. So here comes Halpern.
Substitutions now.
in addition to Jill Flammia. Jill making her third appearance of the season. And for VCU, Isabel Franklin, the two-time reigning A10 Rookie of the Week, is in, alongside Jasmine Jackson. Jess Gottschall goes to the bench for the Rams. So Coach Hutchinson making some changes on the wings, as the Cavaliers put a lot of players on the back post for a Leah Godfrey corner kick over everybody. Vivian Vent also going to the bench for VCU. Last season when Virginia and VCU met, it was in Richmond, September 5th. Who's had a 1-0 victory. Maggie Cagle scored the game-deciding goal in the 77th minute. It was a rocket off the crossbar from outside the 18. In fact, Cagle has 2 career goals against VCU. Had one against the Rams back in 2023 here in Charlottesville, and a 4-1 win. Lynn's in a tussle here. Some help from Sarver. Rouse gives it back for Maya Carter. Senior from Troy, Michigan. Pushed over. Marwa, who's regained. Maya Carter chops it towards Cagle, lets it bounce, but hard to control for her. I think Maggie wanted the long ball there instead of tucking back in short, as she communicates with her center back. Maggie with a lot of experience at the youth level for the U.S. national team. Pongratz, who is trying to use her feet a little bit more in her junior season. Coach Hutchinson saying that she wants her goalkeeper, whoever it is in the years to come, to be like a sweeper keeper. They essentially want to play with 11 outfield players, and your goalkeeper is required to do that in that type of system. Godfrey wheels free, lays it across just in front of Cagle. Another moment of wizardry from Leah Godfrey, just does not end up in a goal. Instead, VCU's keeper Pongratz has it. A couple of more alterations for Coach Swanson. Kiki Mackey, who until tonight played every single minute this season, is now in at center back, replacing Liv Rademacher. So they'll bump Tatum Galvin from center back to left back. And Allie Ross heads out of the game. Carrie Helfrich, the freshman, is in. Helfrich had an assist against Penn State a couple of matches ago on the goal from Cagle. Nguyen sends it for Sarver. And back now to one of the central defensive midfielders, Kira Connolly. She's a captain on this team. Connolly and Nguyen, in the ideal world for Coach Hutchinson, will have the ball a lot when VCU is in possession. Connolly, a player who didn't play all that much until this season. She's a senior from Leesburg, just 15 games over her first 3 collegiate seasons, but has now started in 6 of the 8 matches this year. It was really a clean slate for Coach Hutchinson coming in during the winter time. Being a VCU alum, she certainly paid attention to Rams women's soccer over the last decade or so, watching games on ESPN Plus and maybe going to a game from time to time, but didn't want to have any preconceived notions with this roster. Helfrich bursting into the 18 and looping it over the crossbar, maybe a bit wide. Goal kick Rams. Helfrich still vying for her first collegiate goal. Top Drawers Soccer's number 43 recruit in the class of 2025 out of the Stone Ridge School of the Sacred Heart in Bethesda, Maryland. Takeaway here from Helfrich. Spins, maintains control, to Godfrey, and now Galvin. That's nice work from the freshman. Helfrich again. Flag stays down. Helfrich and Castro on an island here. And Castro puts a tackle in. Corner kick number 4 for Virginia.
It's another upcoming
Castro scored her first career goal against American back on the 21st of August. Game-tying goal in the 89th minute. Keep an eye out for Kiki Mackey, number 4 in orange in the box. Godfrey down to Flammia, banks around. Helfrich on the pinball. No dice there. Rouse, a dangerous pass. A lot of pressure here from Franklin, the freshman, and Rouse finally says, enough of that. I'm going to give it back to my keeper. Franklin tied for the team lead with 4 assists alongside Jensen Linds. Very dangerous player off the bench. Helfrich. Cross comes in. Flammia takes a look. Jill Flammia hasn't scored a goal in 689 days. Didn't play the entirety of last year with a labrum injury. A good sign that Flammia is available for today's match. She rolled her ankle, her left ankle, with about 15 minutes left in the Duke match on Thursday. But immediately she was smiling, so you had the feeling that she was okay. Coming off the bench tonight for Coach Swanson's team. Flammia missing a 5-game stretch earlier this year. Played 74 minutes in the opener, missed the next 5, and then played 59 minutes against Duke. Just another reason why Virginia feels very good about its chances to get to a College Cup this year. Some players who were injured in the past coming back, or maybe have a season of full health after a devastating injury. Helfrich can't keep it in. Inside this expansive field at Klockner Stadium, one of the biggest you'll find in the land. You have 3 players on this Virginia team who are in their 6th year with the Hoos. In Godfrey and Rouse and Lachlan Ryan, who still hasn't debuted this year. They're all in the same public health master's program, believe it or not. There's a really good conversation between Jeff White and Lainey Rouse on the Wahoo Central podcast that came out earlier this week, talking about the veteran leadership of Lainey. Flammia serves it for Rouse. Right back to Flammia, who twists and delivers. Shot blocked from Connolly. Galvin maneuvers her way free, releases wide. Now the Hoos have stepped up their play here over the last 10+ minutes, but still held off the scoreboard. 7 shots now for UVA, none for VCU. Anyway, it was pretty funny listening to the podcast between Jeff and Lainey. This was before the match on Thursday, and Jeff had pointed out that Lainey hadn't scored since a long time ago, just 1 career goal, and then sure enough in the next match she scores her 2nd collegiate goal. Linds with a crack, but didn't put enough velocity on it to really challenge the goalkeeper in Summers. So Ellie makes her first save as a Cavalier. Summers did not play the entirety of last year with UVA. She was on the roster behind Saffordin. Cameron Miller was the backup a year ago. Flammia with Sophia Bradley making a big run off the bench. Bradley has a goal this season, keeps it on the ground. Halpern waits, gets to the right foot. She shoots and drags it wide. Addison Halpern, who scored 180 goals in high school, top drawer soccer's number 5 recruit, and the National Gatorade Player of the Year. Still seeking that first in college. You know, I was thinking about it while going through some of the numbers this week. When's the last time Addison went 512 minutes in her life playing soccer without scoring? Can be challenging as you step up the competition in the collegiate ranks now. But Addison has been very aggressive. 21 shots in her first 7 matches as a hoop. Scored 44 goals last year as a senior, despite missing half a dozen games because she was with the U.S. for the FIFA U20 World Cup. Imagine if she didn't miss those 6. Might have had 50 plus. I bet you she would. Godfrey finds an open channel. Helfrich across the 6. Bradley clips it right back. That's a bad clearance from VCU. Flammia sets up, and it deflected off of Halpern.
Cavaliers substitution.
Third different window here for Coach Swanson with a sub. Jordan Hardiman is in, another one of the talented freshmen. Number 4 in the 2025 recruiting class, according to Top Drawer Soccer, as she gives Leah Godfrey a blow. Now, Godfrey played 83 minutes against Duke, scored that 4th-minute goal against the Blue Devils on Thursday. Those 83 minutes, the most since 2022, before she tore her ACL. Vaulted ball for Bradley, but she's in an offside position. Godfrey 7th in Virginia history with 31 assists, and the NCAA active leader in games played. This is her 93rd collegiate game this evening. 87th start for the 3-time All-American and a first-team All-American back in 2022. Pushed over. Good one-touch pass there from Sarver. No win, lifting it towards the 18. But Rouse ushers this one out of play as Linz couldn't catch up to it. Goal kick for Summers in the Hoos. Plenty of ACC teams in action today. We mentioned earlier Stanford destroyed Pitt 6-0. 6 different goal scorers for the Cardinal, as Stanford bounced back following a 2-2 draw against Clemson on Thursday. Cardinal had a 2-0 lead in that match before the Tigers scored a couple of late goals to equalize. Louisville beating Virginia Tech earlier today 1-0. Emerson Jennings scoring the game-winning goal in the 82nd minute. Cal and Clemson, a 2-2 draw. Duke over Miami 1-0, so the Blue Devils bouncing back after their defeat here on Thursday night. Mia Minestrella, who scored against Virginia, also scored against the Hurricanes, the game-winning goal in minute 73. Kira Connolly heads to the bench.
Number 25.
And Tatum Chaldon is now in, the 5'2" freshman midfielder from Yorba Linda, California in Orange County. Played 26 minutes off the bench in the last match against ODU. The Rams certainly have the edge in terms of rest. Virginia playing a very competitive match on Thursday night, taking down the nation's number 2. Carter forward for Halpern. There's that sweeper keeper mentality that Coach Hutchinson is trying to instill in Pongrax. And a big round of applause here for Lachlan Ryan, who makes her season debut, as Ryan replaces Lainey Rouse.
Substitution number 5.
Ryan had a minor injury in the preseason, and her career has really been defined by her coming back from severe injuries. Did not play the first 3 years of her collegiate career. Tore her first ACL the day before preseason started as a freshman. Tore it a second time in the summer of 2021. Tore an ACL for the 3rd time in the spring of 2022. In fact, she doubted she'd ever return to the soccer pitch, but did so a couple of years ago in 2023. She was a big piece for Virginia in its route to the NCAA tournament last year. Ryan played in all 19 matches, started 4, had a couple of goals against Towson and Utah Valley. And Leah Godfrey, who has battled the injury bug herself, said about Lachlan, she's the toughest competitor and the hardest worker on the planet. And you could feel the excitement here at Klockner Stadium when Ryan came into the match. You can see her wearing a brace on the right leg. Pongrax pumping it towards the Virginia back line. Carter with an assertive header. Flammia lets it roll. Halpern takes it. Addison gives it on the outside. Here's Sophia Bradley, who maneuvers around the outside back Marwa. Bradley inside the 18, goes for goal herself. Virginia now with a dozen shots on the match, but nothing in the back of Pongratz's cage. Sarber. Ishpreen Marwa. That long ball disrupted a bit, took a deflection off of Bradley. Hardiman, the center defensive midfielder, back to Ryan. An excellent first pass here to Halpern. Carter. Here's the run from Helfrich. Carter didn't continue hers. Good movement here from Jasmine Jackson, but she gave it away. Helfrich. Ryan. Carter. Can Virginia get out of that tight space? Yes, the Who's can. Switch of fields here for Galvin. Bradley out wide, receives. Overlapping run here from Flammia. Now Bradley shuttles forward. Inside the 18, Flammia to get the first touch. Castro with the clearance outside the 6. Virginia with its 5th corner of the evening.
Coming, Cavaliers corner.
Ella Carter to deliver the in-swinging ball from the near side corner. Carter playing her first 2 career 90-minute matches over the last 2 games. 2 goals and 2 assists this season. Carter's cross towards the goal line, punched away by Pongratz. Rebound shot is in, and it's Flammia. A moment Flammia has been waiting for quite some time. Her last goal prior to that, October of 2023. And just under 2 years later, following the injury a year ago that cost her the entire season, she's back on the score sheet.
Jill Flammia.
That's Flammia's 8th career goal. Had 4 her freshman season, another 3 back in 2023. And oh, that feels so good for her, getting on the board in 2025. So once again, Virginia cashes in on a set piece. Of the 15 goals the Who's have scored this season, 8 of them off set pieces. Man, with Flammia's return to the lineup, that just bolsters an already stacked midfield for UVA with players like Carter and Halpern dropping back in there sometimes, and Leah Godfrey. Man, oh man, the potential for this Virginia team is just limitless. It really is. I mean, Coach Swanson, before this season started, said Jill not being in the lineup last year, that was a huge loss for our squad. Castro, a little bit short here for Marwa, who goes to the deck to make sure that Bradley didn't get the first touch on it. Now, we saw the Rams have a good 5 to 10 minute spell earlier in this first half, but for the last 20 or so minutes, it has been all Cavaliers, as you would expect from the number 5 team in the country. Pushed over, the senior from Oakdale, Pennsylvania, suburb of Pittsburgh, as VCU tries to change the point of the attack, but they couldn't get it onto the foot of Jackson. Jasmine was battling a little bit of an illness this week, but good to see her on the field and okay to participate. Here's Maggie, the 5th-year senior from Naples. Long ball forward. Bradley hustles after it. So does Marwa. Ishpreen goes to the ground. Virginia's substitute want a foul inside the 18, none given. Bradley with the mag. Nobody on the receiving end for the Who's. No win. Diagonal for Jackson. Helfrich closing down the space. Jackson goes long. Here's the freshman Franklin battling Carter. And Maya thrusts it out of play. Deep throw in for VCU as the Rams try to respond with 90 ticks to go in this opening 45. Franklin moving in towards the ball as we move inside of a minute to go in the first half. Short cross here. Flammia on the volley, knocks it out. Possession retained by the Rams. Chaldone was checking in, doesn't receive it. Instead, it's Jackson. Gets around Ryan. Jackson moving towards the byline. Fakes the cross on Carter, now delivers. Ricochets off the body of Ella Carter, and it's a corner kick for VCU. The Rams with their first on the evening. They are hurrying here with Chaldone. At this point, hard to imagine that UVA can get a counter off this set piece. Towards the 6, goes over Summers, no whistle, as there was a collision inside the 6. Hardiman clears it out. 10 seconds to play in the first half. Marwa had trouble with it initially. Regains, picks her head up. Now Hall goes past her, and that wraps up the first 45 here from Klöckner Stadium. Well, as you'd expect, the number 5 team in the country for Virginia. Ellie Summers remains in the net for the Hoos to start this second half. Vicky Saffordin is available off the bench. Off we go here in half 2. VCU in the slate gray and UVA in the orange. Let's see if they can get Yvonne Nguyen on the ball a little bit more often here in the second half. Immediately, Flammia with the disruption. Halpern to the left, and the freshman receives. Inside the 18, lays it off, back to Flammia, drop off here. McDermott has a crack, leaves it on the ground, and the crumbs scooped up by Pungratz. Well, despite the heavy shot disparity for UVA in the first 45, I think the coaching staff would like to see better decision-making in the final third for the Hoos, sometimes crossing it when they should be shooting it when they should be crossing it. You get the idea. That ball last touches VCU's Isabel Franklin, throwing for the Hoos, but we have the flag up here, and Rademacher's foot was over the line as she tossed the ball in. Or no, she was just a bit too forward when she threw the ball. Okay. So she takes the 3-yard trek backwards. Nice slide in there from Connolly. Possession now with the Rams. Here's Kira. Captain out wide for Jordan Hall. Leah Godfrey bursting back for the interception. Weaves around Chaldone. Carter now to Rademacher. Plenty of real estate for the freshman as the Dutch native moves forward. Everybody for VCU backing up. Rademacher. Diagonally for Cagle. On the edge of the 18, Cagle crosses it, headed by Rademacher over the bar. Oh, Liv Rademacher inches away from her first goal in the United States. She has been so dangerous down the left channel for UVA. She has the creative license to move into the attacking third. Just couldn't finish it off there. Now Ishpreen Marwa. Down the line for Franklin. Mackey gives it back to Summers. So Tatum Galvin right now off the field in the center back combo, Mackey and Maya Carter. Here's Ella Carter, 16 in the orange, no relation. McDermott tries to speed around Hall, and she does. McDermott fakes and waits. Hits it off the body of the defender Hall. That one 2 out in front of Godfrey. Cleared aside by VCU. They need some big hold-up play from Linz. They don't get it. Advantage played here as Rademacher won the ball back. Here's Rouse. And now Cagle. 47th minute goal against Charlotte, 2nd minute goal against Duke. Godfrey, who has 4 goals this year, to Rademacher and now McDermott. Meredith looks up, takes a peek. Godfrey spins off her defender, drives it back to McDermott. Tried to link up there with Halpern. Now it's Rouse who sees space inside the 18. Halpern in, score! On the delivery from Rouse, and Addison Halpern, the freshman phenom, fills it up finally for the first time in college.
Cavaliers goal scored by number 6, Addison.
After totaling $180 in high school, now she scores in college for the very first time, and one that she'll remember forever. Such a smart play from Lainey Rouse, first of all, to surge with it inside the 18. She saw that nobody was on that right side of the box and put in a beautiful cross right onto the waiting foot of Halpern. It took Addison 23 shots to finally score. And again, I don't think she's ever taken 23 shots in her life and scored just one. So that has to feel extremely good for the freshman. Now a 2-0 lead for Virginia, and the Who's wanting more. Godfrey. Now to Halpern. You can see the confidence growing. Rouse, with her 2nd assist now on the season, had an assist against Duke, after scoring her first goal as well in 1,110 days against the Blue Devils back on Thursday night. So the outside backs very involved in the attack. We saw the run from Rademacher earlier in the second half, and now Rouse with the helper on the goal from Halpern. So the Who's scored just before halftime and right after halftime. The 42nd minute goal from Jill Flammia and the 49th minute goal from Halpern. Carter. McDermott. Big run here from Rademacher. McDermott holds on to it. Halpern on the drop off for Flammia. Big clearance from Pongratz. Rouse lifting it. Carter sees Yvonne Nguyen right in her kitchen, but UVA maintains. Rouse picks her head up, lifts it towards Halpern, and it bounces down for Pongratz. Rouse trying to track back. Marwa on it, and Rouse just says, this one's mine. Well, for Addison Halpern, 2nd most goals in New Jersey high school history with her 180. Laura Kerrigan had a .190 in the 80s, NC State's 2nd leading goal scorer all time. Later was the Wolfpack's head coach for over a decade. Halpern with U16, U17, U18, U19 experience with the U.S. national team. And it really helped Addison this spring because she graduated high school early, so she was on grounds for a semester plus prior to her collegiate career officially beginning. Godfrey on a diagonal, but Cagle was too much towards the interior by the time the ball went out in that direction. And now it's Marwa to clean it up. Mina Stevens is on, the freshman from White Marsh, Maryland, Baltimore County. Played 14 minutes off the bench in the last match against ODU, a 2-1 defeat to the Monarchs. Really good team out of the Sun Belt Conference that made 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments from 21 to 23. So Coach Hutchinson has really tried to play some tough teams in and around the area of Richmond in the non-conference slates. Offside here on McDermott. After tonight, VCU heads home. Then the Rams will host Miami, the first ever meeting between those two schools. Canes coming into today at 5-2-1. They lost their ACC opener at Wake Forest on Wednesday. And Miami also lost today to Duke 1-0. So the Hurricanes' record is now 5-3-1. Then they open up A-10 play, VCU does, next Sunday at St. Bonaventure up in New York. Franklin lets that ball go out, throw in VCU. A change here for the Rams. As Kendall Sarver, no, check that, it's 22, not 12. Vivian Vent returns for Yvonne Nguyen.
Random substitution, returning.
Vent has scored both of her goals this season as a sub. Vent starting in tonight's match. Her 4th start of the year and of her career. Didn't play the entirety of last year. Franklin, she is playing twister right now with Ella Carter. Jordan Hall then bangs it off of a couple of who's. And this is a corner kick for VCU. Shots now 15-1 Virginia. Corner kicks now 5-2 in favor of the Who's. Tatum Chaldone to take this set piece. Chaldone sprays it in towards the penalty dot. McDermott with the header away. Now McDermott closes down the space, disrupts Marwa, and McDermott's got the ball. Rouse making a run on the right side. Halpern to the left. McDermott goes to the right. Rouse is onto it here. McDermott still available on the inside. Rouse weaving inside the area. Her cross is slapped aside off the deflection by Pongratz. And now it's Virginia's turn on the corner kick.
Cavaliers corner.
And Lainey Rouse is making these special runs on the right side of the field. More than she did last season when she was coming off the season-ending Achilles injury back in 2023. Got hurt in the opener against Nevada that year. Didn't play the rest of the year. And yes, she started all the games last year, but it's a different version of Lainey Rouse this year. It's a different version of Leah Godfrey this year. Carter from the corner flag. Maggie Cagle was hunting that ball. VCU clears, but not long enough. Maya Carter elevating it back in. McDermott save! Oh, it's a huge stop from Pongratz to keep her team in the match. Now, VCU does not have many doubts about Pongratz's shot-stopping abilities. They believe that that's her strength. They're just trying to improve her game on the ball. But you understand right there why they're confident in her abilities in between the pipes. She was behind a 2-year starter in Allison Karpovich the last couple of years. Karpovich transferring to Michigan. In fact, this VCU team lost a lot of talent from last year's squad. They only went 4-9-5, scored 15 goals, but a lot of their top players gone. Inside the area again, Halpern gets a touch and floats it into the waiting arms of Pongratz. We mentioned Kana Matsuhisa earlier on our show. 7 of the 15 goals for VCU last year. She has departed. Greta Krazula is gone. She was a 3-year starter with the Rams with Australian youth national team experience. Milica Bulatovic spent a few years with the Rams after transferring from community college. Scored 8 goals in 45 starts in Division I. Carly Frillis, Natalia Santangelo, Paige Hoger. So many departures for VCU, and yet through 7 matches, they have 2 wins and 2 ties, accompanied with a few losses. Marwa. She gets it back off the delivery from Linz. Chaldone tries to locate Vent, but it's not in her area code, and it's a goal kick for Summers and UVA. Ellie Summers has only had to make 1 save today. That was on a shot from Jensen Linz, which really wasn't all that threatening back in the first half. Summers boosting it over to McDermott. Nice anticipation from Jordan Hall. Now Connolly. Linz tries to direct it to Franklin on the byline. Her cross is immediately halted by Carter. Strong play from the center back, making her first collegiate start tonight in her 69th collegiate cap. Man, the Rams would love a set-piece goal here to get themselves within 1. 13 minutes into this second half. Virginia with a 6-0 edge in shots. At the edge of the 6, Halpern vaults it. Flammia tries to track it down. Oh, a huge collision there with Hall, and Flammia stays down. Halpern has it, and now the whistle comes from our referee, Nicole Green. Anytime that there's the thought of an injury to the head neck area, they're going to stop play. For the second straight match, Jill Flammia goes down on this near side of the field and has a smile on her face. She went off with about 15 minutes to go against Duke back on Thursday. She was holding her left ankle. Just her third game of the season. This is Virginia's 8th match of the year. Cavaliers at 6-0-1. Flammia, our lone goal scorer back in the first half, scoring in the 42nd minute off a secondary ball following a corner kick. And then Halpern scoring here in the second half. Good to see Flammia back up, and Jill clearly wanted a foul from the referee, but Nicole Green with the disagreement. You see Nicole there patting her forehead to signal that she had stopped play because of a potential head injury. So Flammia goes off. The athletic trainer, Bill Parente, will certainly get another look or two and make sure that Jill is 100% okay to go back in. For the moment, Jordan Hardiman will be her replacement.
Now on for the Cavaliers, number 14, Jordan Hardiman.
'68th minute, rather 58th minute here from Charlottesville. So we continue play as the ball is dropped for Liv Rademacher. Carter splitting the difference with two VCU defenders. Godfrey springs free. In transition, now McDermott. Lifting it, back post, in the direction of Cagle, who couldn't keep it in play. Change here for VCU. Kendall Sarver returns. And claps 5 here with Isabel Franklin.
Number 12, Kendall Sarver.
Well, it's an uphill battle for VCU. The Rams do have 9 wins all time against current ACC opponents. Their last win against an ACC team was back in 2022 against Pitt. A 3-2 win in Richmond, and Kendall Sarver had 2 of those goals for the Rams that day. Just something to keep in mind. Halpern chases after it. Marwa doing the same. Bounces down for McDermott. Takes a touch to her right. Faces up. Halpern thought that she was offside, so she let the ball roll. Ava Pustover is on it here for VCU. Pustover and Castro not coming off the field so far for Coach Hutchinson's team. Rouse. Weaving inside. Clever outside of the boot delivery. Cagle. Ball stays in. VCU thought it was out. Cagle dangles and scores! A masterful move from Maggie. And Cagle's got her 3rd on the season. It's 3-0 Hoos.
UVA goal scored by number 10, Maggie Cagle.
Meanwhile, Mia Pongratz, the goalkeeper, is being stretched out by 2 of her teammates inside the 6-yard box as the Rams were apoplectic that it was not called out of bounds. They thought that Cagle did not keep it in, but the flag did not come up from the far side AR, Amelia Graytock, and so the goal does stand. So as we wait for play to resume at the center circle, Pongratz, the goalkeeper, stays down for VCU. Now she gets assistance back on her feet. You can't see it from our angle here, but she is flexing her left leg. It looks like Pongratz will give it a go and try to continue on in this match. Junior goalkeeper from Hanover, Massachusetts. So a couple of second half goals here for UVA. Cavs make some changes here. McDermott and Carter come off. Mittemeyer returns. Carrie Helfrich is also in. Now this was kind of the ideal scenario for Coach Swanson. I'm sure he would have loved to have had 3 first half goals, but he wanted his team comfortably in front to allow some of his players to rest today, including a player like Ella Carter, who has played the full 90 in each of the last 2 matches. So Carter comes out, and assuming Virginia isn't threatened with a goal or 2 from VCU in the final half hour, I'd imagine Carter's day is done. Maya Carter, though, remains in with Kiki Mackey as the 2 center backs. For Maggie Cagle, again, her 3rd goal of the season, her 2nd in the last 3 matches, and her 3rd in the last 5. 22nd career goal for Cagle as she moves up in the UVA leaderboard. Helfrich, wide for Godfrey, advances into the box. Godfrey on the left foot. Here's Helfrich, tees it up, save, Pongratz. Mia Pongratz with her 6th save of the evening, couple shy of her career high. And the set piece opportunities mounting here for the Who's. This is their 7th corner of the night.
Upcoming Cavaliers corner.
Tatum Chaldone, the lone defender out there. Cagle gets ahead on it. Gets ahead on it again. Bobbles free. Mittemeyer tried to poke it forward. Now it's on the back post for Cagle, who is called offside. 4th time the Who's have been called for an offside tonight. Virginia now with 20 shots in the match. VCU still stuck on the 1 from Jensen Linds back in the first half, which quite frankly had no chance to beat Ellie Summers. Lachlan Ryan is waiting to return to action at midfield. Next ball out of play. Rouse, though, keeps it in play. Mackey back to Summers. Virginia's attack has made it a relatively easy Who debut for Summers. Transfer from both Pepperdine and Loyola Marymount. 2nd year with the Who's, didn't play last year. Helfrich turbines and feeds. Godfrey with Rademacher to her left. That's where the ball goes. Rademacher's cross in, but the flag is up for another offside on Virginia. Well, decision making in the final third has been a huge focal point for Steve Swanson's team going back to the spring, and they proved that they could score some goals back in those spring exhibitions. Tallied 4 goals against Duke, 3 goals against North Carolina, 3 goals against West Virginia. Heck, Addison Halpern had a hat trick against Wake Forest in a preseason game. So the talent is there. There's no doubting that. But to put all the pieces together in the attacking third, when the competition gets stiff, when ACC play continues, that's going to be paramount for this team. You know, remember, Virginia made the NCAA tournament last year, but did not qualify for the ACC tournament. Only 6 teams making it. That's the same format this year. Connolly, pushed over. Rouse stepping up. It's an awkward play here for Hall. Her fellow number 20, Helfrich, got a head on it. Back for Pongratz, who faces up. As we inch closer and closer to the midway point of half number 2. If you're just joining us, 42nd minute goal from Jill Flammia got the Cavaliers on the score sheet first. Right after halftime, in fact, 3 minutes and 25 seconds after halftime, Addison Halpern scoring her first collegiate goal. And then Maggie Cagle scoring her 22nd collegiate goal in minute number 60. Virginia's goalkeeper, Ellie Summers, really has not been tested just yet. The Who's best defense has been their attack all season long. 5 shutouts in the first 7 games, vying for another here. In the interior, Mittemeyer is making a huge run. Halpern on the step over and the cross that goes off of Marwa. Halpern again lasers it in towards the D. Cagle controls on the half volley, nearly put it home. Ross and Ryan return for Coach Swanson. Rademacher and Godfrey exits. Nice hand for both players.
Returning number 5, Lachlan Ryan. Also number 8, Allie Ross.
So the second stint here for Ryan in 2025, coming off the minor injury in the preseason. Mackey steps up, puts a foot on it. Now it's lifted in the direction of Vent, the only multi-goal scorer for VCU this season. A tussle here between Vent and Ryan, and Lachlan wins that joust. Ross, Helfrich spins. Mittemeyer asking for it and hauls it in. Uses the left foot to spray it out wide. Cagle. Ross moving inside the 18. Cagle waits, drops it off for Rouse. And now the Who's recycle. Right back to Cagle off the delivery from Rouse. Maggie on the byline. Eighth corner kick for UVA. This time Jordan Hardiman to take it. And Sophia Bradley is getting some final instructions, waiting to return to the match. Now Jordan Hardiman played sparingly over the last 2 matches, just 10 combined minutes against top 10 opponents in Penn State and Duke. Getting a little bit more opportunity this afternoon into the evening. Here's her cross. And it's over the crossbar. And a wasted set piece for UVA there. It's not going to make any coach happy. So here comes Bradley for the Who's. And that should do it for Maggie Cagle this evening.
Substitutions for the Rams, number 10, Yvonne Nguyen.
Meanwhile, for VCU, Yvonne Nguyen returns
Sophia Bradley.
as Kira Connolly heads off. Nice hand for Cagle, who scores her 3rd ever goal against VCU, 3 of her 22 against the Rams. Cagle also has the 5th most assists of any active player in the country right now. 25 in her collegiate career. Number 2 on that list is her teammate Leah Godfrey with 31. The most assists from an active player in Division I is Macy Blackburn with Texas Tech. She has 40. Rouse administers back to Mackey and all the way back towards the 6. Ellie Summers. Hardiman looks behind her, sees the pressure arriving from Chaldone. Rouse. Bradley. Off the body of Marwa. A Virginia throw. Some other scores involving ACC teams today. SMU 1-0 over Alcorn State. Boston College and St. John's. Both teams did not score in the 90 minutes, so they end up with a tie, the Eagles and the Red Storm. Wake Forest 6-2 earlier today over USC Upstate. The number 18 Demon Deacons getting their 7th victory on the year. Wake Forest making their 2nd College Cup in program history last year. Lost to North Carolina in the national championship game 1-0. 9 ACC clubs made the NCAA tournament last year, 6 making it to the Elite 8. Tied for the most in ACC history in the College Cup. Fully represented by ACC teams. Carolina, Duke, Wake, and Stanford. Ross toying with the ball. Feeds it back for Carter, with Jensen Linz applying the pressure. Carter switches it for Rouse. Bradley. Mittemeyer inside. They bypass her and go to Helfrich. Ryan calling for it on the near side, and she gets it down. Ross asking for it. She's offside. Just could not time her run. Now Virginia has tied its season high in goals. The Hoos putting 3 on the board against Xavier, 3 against Charlotte, and another 3 against Duke on Thursday. Virginia with an opportunity to maybe move into the #1 positioning in the nation if this result holds and the poll decision makers feel that the Hoos have done enough on their resume. Ross. It was a bit confusing there for Allie because it took maybe a bit of a touch. The ball moved aerially maybe a yard or 2, and so that's what made it go over that back netting.
Number 5, Jess Gottschall, and number 6, Kate Weir.
Kate Weir is in for VCU. First time she's played tonight. Weir did not play over the last 3 matches, but started the first 4 this season and averaged 83 minutes per game in those matches. Played 90 against Virginia Tech, 90 against American, so she's experienced. Not an injury for Weir over the last few, just a coach's decision when we spoke with Coach Hutchinson earlier this week. Linz, Castro, Vent. Ryan with the challenge. Gets back on her feet. Nifty play here for Mittemeyer as she moves through the maze. Halpern gives it back for Carter, and another switch for Rouse. Hardiman. So much real estate here for Lachlan Ryan. Ross makes the move on the exterior. Shimmy shake move from Ryan. Speeds in towards the 18. Moving through 2. Helfrich getting a foot on it. That ball crashing off of Jess Gottschall. They re-tee it up here for Ryan. Ross with the deflection. Pops up in the air. And Ross moves it around Castro. Stella recovers. Some help here from Jordan Hall. Throw in UVA. Cavaliers with a chance at #1 because the current #1 team in the nation, Tennessee, lost to Mississippi State. Duke fell to UVA on Thursday. Blue Devils #2 right now. 2 teams tied for #3 in the nation, Stanford and UCLA. The Cardinal with a tie against Clemson back on Thursday on the road as they suffered a defeat after holding a 2-0 lead in the final 11 minutes of that match. Also #3 UCLA. They beat Oregon 2-0 at home last night. So we'll see. You'd have to imagine that Virginia, assuming they hold on to a 3-0 or maybe more victory here, would be at least #2 in the country. But again, maybe #1. Hoos have not been #1 in the nation since late in the 2021 regular season. That year, Virginia lost in the ACC title match to Florida State. Won a couple of games in the NCAA tournament before eventually falling in the Sweet 16 to BYU. 4 college cups in Virginia women's soccer history, the most recent appearance back in the spring of 21. And this is a roster and a team with the makeup that certainly shapes up to be a contender for another college cup. They made 29 NCAA tournaments in a row from 94 to 2022. Missed out in 2023 with 8 victories, tied for their fewest in program history. Responded with a 13-win season last year. Started the season 8-0. A similarly strong start this year. Again, assuming Virginia doesn't collapse here. Cavs would be 7-0-1 in their first 8 this year. Hall falls down, whistle and a foul, as it's called against Helfrich. Well, they have a lot of experience on the back line, does VCU, with Hall, Castro, and Pustover. All three of those players are seniors, and they've been with the program for 4 years. Interesting to find out what Coach Hutchinson for VCU takes away from this match. It was really fascinating talking to her this week. We mentioned earlier how she had experience with the Trinidad and Tobago senior national team for 11 years. And she knew her team was a bit of an underdog against the number 5 team in the country in UVA. But she wanted to see an offensively minded squad as Summers comes out and collects. She compared this sort of David and Goliath matchup to a game of her own with Trinidad and Tobago back in 2014 in World Cup qualifying against Costa Rica. A really talented Costa Rica squad with a lot of history, and quite frankly, Trinidad and Tobago doesn't have the same great history. But they put a scare into Costa Rica on that day. In fact, Coach Hutchinson scored the game-tying goal in that match, which was held in Pennsylvania. And the game went to extra time, eventually to penalty kicks before Costa Rica won it. Ross moves inside. Ross shoots. It takes a deflection and out for a UVA throw. Nice defense there from Stella Castro. Tatum Galvin to get another stint in this match, replacing Lainey Rouse. Lainey with an assist in this match. Her second straight game with one, 6th of her career. And the veteran for the Hoos at 23 years old to take a seat. So Galvin, Mackey, Carter, and Ryan now on the back line for Coach Swanson. Halpern maybe getting greedy for a second. Let's see. Instead, she steers it back for Galvin. Under a quarter hour to play here from Klockner Stadium. Bradley faces up and drags it wide. Goal kick VCU. Shot number 24 on the match for the Hoos. A lot of offense for the Hoos in their last match against Duke as well. They took 18 shots in that one. Halpern, Mackey, and Summers. This has served as really good experience for Ellie to be in a Hoos shirt for the first time officially. You just never know, and hopefully for Virginia's case, nothing wrong ever happens to Vicky Saffredin, but should something arise, you always want a goalkeeper with experience to be ready. Ryan forced down by Jasmine Jackson and a free kick for UVA. Kira Waller is waiting to come into the match, the redshirt freshman from Alexandria, as Halpern elevates it towards Tatum Galvin. She was one of the more indispensable players for Coach Swanson's team last year. So many different positions, center back, outside back, center defensive mid. So crucial for the Hoos in getting back to the big dance. Mackey floats it. Ross chases it with Brianna Lawrence. Back to Pongratz. You can see her gaining confidence on the ball. But VCU coughs it up. Bradley to the head of Ross. Too much mustard on it. Now, Coach Hutchinson told Pongratz early this season, look, you're going to make certain mistakes because of inexperience. I expect that. But I tell her all the time, go fail now. Go trip on your shoelace now while you're dribbling outside the box. I want you to gain that experience on the ball before conference play begins. And for the Rams, that happens next Sunday on the road against St. Bonaventure. Just 4 collegiate matches for Pongratz, all off the bench in her first 2 seasons of college. Galvin picking her way towards the 18. Lauren stepping up, drops it off for Marwa. That goes off the head of Gottschall. Marwa. Chaldon. And the reset here for Pongratz. Still 6 saves for Mia, 2 shy of her career high. 11.5 to go here from Klockner Stadium in a fast-moving match. Stella Castro lifts it towards Kendall Sarver. Maya Carter there instead. Coming up for the Cavaliers, they go back into ACC play on Saturday as they head up to Central New York, face the Syracuse Orange. SU losing earlier today to FSU, the number 7 team in the land, 4-0. Spin from Helfrich. Couldn't find Ross. Jackson speeds forward. VCU trying to muster some confidence going into their next match. Maybe get a goal on the board here at Klockner. Faced an ACC team earlier this year in Virginia Tech, then number 14, the Hokies. They lost 5-1, but Coach Hutchinson said it was an accomplishment to get a goal against the Hokies, against an ACC club. Chaldon scored the lone goal in that match for VCU in the 29th minute. 8 goals so far this year in 7 matches. Coming into tonight, only 15 a year ago. And she said, look, I had to change the mindset of this team. You can't be afraid to go score goals. And so they did not get into phase 2 of defending until this past week. Helfrich is offside here. And Hutchinson herself, she was a defender growing up. And that's who she is as a coach through and through, but just noticed about this team that they needed something different. Ball will be reset here for Maya Carter near midfield. The 4th official, Taylor Heemstra, is in discussion right now with Coach Hutchinson. Grew up in Northern Virginia from Sterling, about 120 miles north of Richmond, about 30 miles outside of DC. But said VCU is where she grew up. Feels like home for me. And she hopes to do some really special things with this program. In fact, VCU is currently undergoing a 4-phase, 42-acre project for an athletic village, all through private funds. They had their groundbreaking ceremony last fall. Phase 1 is nearly complete. They have an outdoor track and field stadium in phase 1, expected to be ready this spring. And a couple of practice fields. They'll build a tennis center, a new soccer stadium, and a multi-purpose building with an indoor track as part of this 4-phase process. Ross lasers it in. High up into the atmosphere, finally bounces down. Helfrich and Lawrence, poked back up by Jackson. And Ryan can't keep it in. Meanwhile, it was a very exciting time here on grounds on Thursday, as it was the grand opening of the Harrison Family Olympic Sports Center on the Raymond W. Breeden Athletic Grounds. 95,000 square foot building, 4 floors on Massey Road. The new home for Virginia men's and women's soccer, field hockey, cross country, track and field, men's and women's lacrosse, men's and women's tennis, and rowing. $75 million project, new locker rooms, lounges, meeting rooms, offices, 12,000 square foot strength and conditioning area, as all of those teams moved or starting to move out of the Proving Grounds trailer site where they've been stationed over the last 7 years after University Hall was demolished. The construction took a little bit longer because of the pandemic. And a lot of videos on social media from the Virginia team accounts. You find them on X or Instagram, and you can just see a lot of the athletes, their jaws agape, just couldn't believe how beautiful the building was when they first saw it. And a lot of people commenting how Virginia takes its athletics very seriously, and it shows in a building like that, and should obviously help in recruiting if any of these programs had troubles before, which quite frankly they have not. Just another element to the student-athlete experience here at the University of Virginia. Steve Swanson spoke at the opening ceremony. He said everything we do as coaches and student-athletes will be enhanced by this facility. The message the university and athletic department is sending back to them with this new facility is we are invested with you. We see the value of your hard work. We see the importance of athletics within the university community, and we support you. And he said that this new facility, the Harrison Family Sports Center, it will be a very interactive experience for all the student athletes to get to know one another across all sports. Lawrence lifting it in towards the 18. Back outside it goes for Helfrich, who nods it down and clears it out. Under 6.5 to go here from Klockner. Virginia 4-0-1 here at home this season. The only tie this year to Georgetown. And Maya Lardner had the equalizer for the Hoyas in minute 70 back on the 31st of August. Catherine Kelly is now in the match for UVA, 24 in the orange. Galvin keeps it in. Hardiman, wide for Bradley, stepping up Marwa. Didn't get it cleanly, and now Bradley bolts. Oh my goodness, look at those long strides of Sophia Bradley, just blazing past multiple Rams. But she couldn't find a pass for Helfrich. Well, that's what makes a lot of Virginia fans really excited about Bradley and her prospects in the future. Still just a sophomore, scored a couple of goals in her career, had an 80th minute goal against Charlotte back on the 28th of August of this year. Athleticism, speed, and height, some of her main attributes. By the way, VCU did make a goalkeeper change. Pongratz is out, gave up the 3 goals, but made 6 saves. And Lily Height is now in, the senior from Frisco, Texas, who is now playing in her first ever game in college, so a nice accomplishment for Lily. Dad David played soccer at Emory. Mom Jamie played soccer at Arizona. Grandfather also played football at Pitt. So a nice athletic background for Lily. A Rams squad continuing to figure it out under a first-year head coach. Picked towards the middle of the A-10 in the preseason poll, 8th out of 14. They did receive 1 first-place vote for what that's worth. St. Louis, the dominating presence in the A-10 over the years. The Billikens have won 6 of the last 7 A-10 regular season championships and the last 7 A-10 tournament titles. The last A-10 tournament champ that wasn't St. Louis was LaSalle back in 2017. The Billikens, crazy enough, 63-5 in the A-10 since 2018. All 3 of those losses, by the way, came in 2021. Sarver tried to get it to Linz, but Jensen was offside anyway, the ULM transfer. And a goal kick for Summers as we creep under 3.5 to go. So it's Syracuse next up for Virginia on the road, and then they also have a road date with Clemson on Thursday, September 25th. Both those matches against the Cuse and the Tigers, 7 o'clock starts on ACC Network Extra. And then Virginia finally returns home, coming up on October the 4th against Virginia Tech in the Commonwealth Clash. That's a Saturday night game under the lights here at Klockner Stadium. So this is UVA's final home match of September. It's also their final match in a 5-game home stretch. Mittemeyer connects with Helfrich. Kira Waller is wide open in the middle if they can find her. Helfrich goes down. Instead, the signal is a corner kick for Virginia. So maybe one final chance here for the Hoos to work on something that they've set up in the training ground. Utter domination on the ball from the Hoos today. 25 shots for UVA and just 1 for VCU. The Rams do not have a shot here in the second half. Ninth corner kick for UVA as we continue to add to that total. Jordan Hardiman to take it. Still seeking her first collegiate point. Plenty of really good options inside the 18 for her. Nobody got onto it for UVA, and VCU clears off the boot of Gottschall. Her fellow number 5, Ryan, has it. Sends it for Kelly. Waller. No dice there on the pass for Ross. Sarver with the turn. Lynn's crowded by 3 Who's. Now, Lainey Rouse said this on the Wahoo Central podcast the other day. It's been a main emphasis for this team all year long that defense starts in the attack, then in the midfield, then by the defenders. Virginia pleading for a handball, but no whistle from Nicole Green. Who's back on it? Hardiman lets it rip off the bar. That would have been majestic from the freshman, as it takes a glancing blow off the woodwork. Now everybody understands why she was the 4th best recruit in this year's class, right? Earned a bronze medal for the U.S. in the 2024 U17 World Cup. One of the other talented freshmen for UVA, Pearl Cecil, hasn't suited up over the last couple of matches. Player who reclassified and entered this season at just 17 years old and left Virginia earlier this year for the US U17 national team for a couple of friendlies in Spain. Got back into the fold against Penn State, played 29 minutes off the bench a couple of matches ago.
10,
Nguyen
9,
deflects
8,
out.
7,
Sarver
6,
scrambling for a set piece try, but VCU's going to run out of time. And Virginia finishes off a 3-0 victory over its neighbors in Richmond in the VCU Rams. For the Who's, it is their